What's up, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite New York Jets subscription podcast, Badlands. I'm your host, Joe Caporoso. Sunday AM coffee, but on Saturday late afternoon. It's rainy out. I'm a dad. There's not much going on. Kids are napping. Great time to record some podcasts. I'm continuing our positional breakdown series today, but I'm going to lead with some Davante Adams talk because there's been some smoke. So why not talk about it a little bit and poke around on what is worth keeping an eye on and what isn't. Also going to answer a couple of your questions that have came through on the Discord. A couple quick things to shout out. We have still one spot left in our current $25 entry best ball draft. I'm linking it in the bio. Join me, join Connor, compete against us. Once that one is off and rocking, we're going to drop an MLB one, so look out for that. Also have a summer combo sale at badlandstoj.com. Buy a polo, get the hat 50% off. $75 all in. You get that Nike polo to golf in. You get our classic white rope hat, been our most popular product. Badlandstoj.com. Take advantage of that now. All right, let's talk Devante. We've talked about this a lot on the feed. It's become sort of a bit of a running bit between me and Mo Moten and a few other people on Twitter, joking about whether this is going to happen or not happen. I remain of the belief that while I wouldn't put it above 50%, I feel like it's somewhere in that like 35 to 49% likelihood of happening that in season, around the trade deadline, he could end up on the Jets. The Jets unquestionably need more at receiver. I think this summer they're going to roll the dice and see what they get from Gibson, Corley, Brownlee, and if they can get anything out of Lazard. Realistically, I think when they get into the season, especially if they start fast and a team like the Raiders starts slow, it just makes a lot of sense. You can put all the Rodgers and Devante stuff aside. Of course, they want to play together again. Of course, they've had a lot of success together. The Jets just like really could use another receiver. And Mike Williams, if he's right and he gets back to being right, is a more than adequate guy to put opposite of Garrett Wilson. But is he going to be 100%? How long is it going to take for him to be 100%? And the Jets signed him to a one-year deal. It's not like this was, a 5-year contract. And I'm excited about the Williams addition, but the Jets are all in. They have to win this year and next year. They have 2 years being generous with Rodgers, where you're trying to win a Super Bowl and this entire staff is on that hot seat and on that timetable. So if you have a chance to go 3 wide with Garrett, Devante, and Mike Williams versus having a Lazard or a Corley or a Gibson in the mix, and there's a way to do it in this window, the Jets have already been sniffing around finding ways to get him and hasn't worked to date. You look at the economics, and this is from a tweet from Brian Drake. Davante's in the final year with any guaranteed money on his contract with the Raiders. Pays him $16.8 million plus a cap number of $25 million plus. He's almost 10% of the Raiders' total cap. You trade him $7.8 million of dead cap hit, and it saves the Raiders $17.5 million. His cap number in 25 and 26 is $44 million annually. He's never going to play on that number, not for the Raiders, not for anybody. The Jets have only $6.2 million of cap space left as it sits right now. Now, we're going to do a bigger conversation with our friend Jason OTC at some point soon, just to circle back on the status of the Jets salary cap and some of the other things that have been moving around. That being said, you do a trade deadline deal with him in season after 5, 6, 7 games. You're paying a prorated version of that number. Gives you time to shuffle some things around, do the Joe Douglas void year dance, move money out for certain young players you want to renegotiate with, and also prospectively renegotiate with Adams, right? This is he's not going to be on the Raiders next year. So if he is, it's not going to be on the current contract. So we're talking about a scenario where the Raiders are 2-4, 2-5, and they're really struggling on offense. The Jets are 4-2, 5-2. They look good, but they're having some issues and concerns at the wide receiver position. And look, it goes, listen, you're going to lose Devante. You want to free up some cap space. You're a rebuilding team. You're not going to be good this year. You're probably not going to be good next year. Take some draft picks, take some collateral. We will effectively have him as a rental for the next rest of the season. Can we renegotiate something where he's here for the rest of 24 and on a number he's okay with in 25? Or is it truly just we're just going to pay a prorated version of this and like you can walk next year. Now, the Jets are probably going to have to give up multiple draft picks. I don't think you're giving up a first. I think you're probably giving up the 2 3s. We've talked about that a lot. I think there's a reason the Jets got draft picks next year to have some ammo for this kind of situation. Maybe it's a 2 and a 3. I still think in the overall situation, like, hey, 2 3s, maybe there's another late round conditional pick in there. I don't think you're giving up a 1. Let's call it a 2 and a 3 that you're giving up. If the Jets feel like they have a chance to win the Super Bowl or win the AFC East and break this playoff drought, it's going to remain on the table. Again, is it more likely to happen than not? No. The economics can be worked out, especially because you're going to be getting them on a prorated number in the middle of the season. Again, this is not going to happen in August or September. From my perspective, it would be early to mid-October, late October. You're bringing him in for the stretch run. You're probably renegotiating something that lines up to Rodgers' window where you say, play with him in 24, play with him in 25, and then the Jets are probably in a full reset anyway. And then you have Garrett, to go forward with. And I know the Jets are doing a lot of kicking the can, but the smart teams find ways to maneuver the salary cap and stay competitive. And the Jets are in a unique situation here. It's not traditional team building. It's you traded for a 40-year-old quarterback. You got to win right now. Maybe it's not Davante. Maybe they have some other move in mind. Maybe Ayuk stays really disgruntled and they try to go down that route. Maybe they just sign a less flashy veteran like Michael Thomas or Hunter Renfrow. I would just still keep an eye on this all the way up through the trade deadline. I will talk about this until the trade deadline is passed or if Adams signs some shiny new extension with the Raiders or gets traded somewhere else. It's definitely worth still monitoring. Quick other question we got, somewhat related because we're talking about the Jets offense. This is from Zachariah Barnes. If you guys had Martini Nate on the pod and you had to be nice to him, we're always nice. We're nice guys. What questions would you ask him what questions would you ask him about what the Jets will do on offense this fall? Martini Nate, man. I would really be very curious how he thinks about things like pre-snap motion, moving guys around the formation and having them play in multiple positions, specifically like Garrett Wilson. How often are you going to look at using him in the slot, moving him around before the play to help free him up, pressing him more on Brees being a switchblade and not just a pure running back, how much he's going to trust Aaron, quote unquote, to do at the line, although Aaron's really going to be running the show, as we all know. And I also really want to press him on red zone stuff because that's where he's supposed to theoretically be adding value. How does he look at personnel usage once he gets inside the 20-yard line? The Jets were so bad last year in the red zone. How does he feel he can improve that? So that's how I'd poke around it. I mean, if Hackett can stay out of Rodgers' way, design some clever things in the red zone that help manufacture a few touchdowns, throws the ball a ton to Brees Hall and lets Garrett Wilson move into the slot to help free him up, that's kind of enough. I mean, I'm not expecting much more from him. He's not a good offensive coordinator by any objective metric, but can he not be a disaster and can he stay out of the way? That's all we're hoping for here. Other question we got, and I'll let Connor and Will answer this version of it for themselves. But for me, if you guys could touch the magical football like Space Jam and have the talent of an NFL player, which positions would you guys choose to play and why? It's very easy for me, and Will probably answer this the same way. I was a Division III wide receiver in Muhlenberg College. I would want to be much faster, a little taller, and able to jump higher. I played college football, very small college football, because I was a good route runner and I could catch everything that was thrown to me. I was slow as hell, could not jump all that high, but I had decent height for D3. I was 6'2". I am still 6'2", not shrinking yet. But I would, want to be Randy Moss, 6'4", jumping over everybody. Now, when I was in 8th and 9th grade in North Jersey, not exactly the most, it's a competitive area. Private school in North Jersey is among some of the best high school football in the country. I went to a pretty small public school, Lakeland. And, when I was in 8th and 9th grade, I was already 6'2", so I was able to moss some 5'3" cornerbacks. That got harder and harder with each passing year. Still a good high school player, but not Randy Moss level. So I want the Space Jam Randy Moss capabilities. He was my favorite non-jet player. He's my favorite non-jet player ever, period. But as I was growing up playing receiver, which I played my whole life, he was always my idol. Him and Jericho Cotchery couldn't be more different players, but I loved both of them, and I was obviously more Cotchery than Moss if I was looking for a player comp. So getting some of that Moss skill would have been fun. We got a couple other interesting ones in the Discord that we're going to save for War Room this week. All right, let's continue with our position breakdowns. The last one I did was on the defensive line. Let's move over to linebacker. This one's a little more quick and straightforward, right? The Jets effectively only play 2 linebackers most of the time. They're going to play Quincy Williams. They're going to play C.J. Mosley. This is one of the best inside linebacker duos in football. Probably make a case they're the best, depending on the week, but they're up there. They're awesome. Mosley gets, in my mind, a little too much crap from fans. Is he the guy he was in his absolute peak of his powers in Baltimore? No. He's still really damn good. And he is a key part of that defense. He is another coach out there. He's excellent against the run. He has terrific instincts. He's not amazing in open field against the pass, but he's not as much of a liability as he's made out to be. He's still very good. He's still one of the best inside linebackers in football. At this stage, coming after last year, I would say Quincy Williams is better right now. I mean, Quincy was outrageous last year. He was the best player on the team probably for the first half of the season until Brees took that over for him down the stretch. He's awesome. What the Jets have done from a player development perspective with him has been one of the most impressive things on Saleh and Ulbricht's resumes. This was a guy who was like probably overdrafted, didn't do anything in Jacksonville, was up and down a couple of years ago with the Jets, but was a superstar last year and is a perfect fit for this defense. Sideline to sideline, you could not throw to running backs with this guy. He's just everywhere. He's such a key part of this defense. And my concern is, and we talked about this a little bit on the pod last week or 2 weeks ago, that you lose one of those two guys for any amount of time, it's very hard to fill. Quincy is a little bit of a unicorn with his speed and athleticism. Mosley is a unicorn with his knowledge and veteran experience. There's no plug and play with those dudes, and they need them both. So, if they get hurt for an extended period of time, could you get creative and drop a guy like Chuck Clark down into a linebacker role, but then you're even more exposed at safety? The Jets need these two guys healthy because they are two of their best players. And, Quincy remains, he's not known by enough players, enough people, I would argue, league-wide. I think that will continue to change after the Jets have another primetime slate this year, and they're better overall. You look at the depth, Sherwood has been the backup for a bit now. He's okay, plays like 10 to 25 snaps certain weeks, but he's just fine. He's like a jag. Little special teams, really never had any memorable moments on defense. It's a big step down, as it would be for most, but especially here, if he has to come in for Williams or Mosley, he'll make the team and he'll be that top backup inside linebacker, and he's fine, but you're not feeling great. And I feel like if someone got hurt, they'd be like, can we get Quan Alexander back again? I know we're still talking about him, or that type of player. Can you get a veteran? I don't know how they feel about Sherwood playing 50, 60 snaps a game. After that, it's a little bit wide open. One, how many linebackers they carry, who the fourth and the fifth guy are. They used a draft pick on Zaire Barnes, who we joke about a lot, who we feel like we've never seen. He'll get a chance this preseason to grab a roster spot. Chaz Surratt, had a little hard knocks moment with Saleh last preseason, and he got banged up. Can he stick around? Those are probably the two main guys from my mind, competing to make the 53. So we'll see. But Quincy, Mosley, critical pieces, man. And both are, I would say Mosley is a touch underrated by the fans, and Williams is a touch underrated by the sort of national football media, but two excellent players. All right. Saturday pod in the books. Glad you listened. BadlandsTOJ.com. Get that gear. Will be on the feed tomorrow with a very special Sunday TOJ Talks. Monday, the other guys. Tuesday, War Room. Wednesday, podcast. Thursday, something. I'm probably leaning towards doing a film room. We've been dropping some of the throwback episodes. We're going to try to get a film room live. Friday, Buck the Trend. Saturday, back to TOJ Talks. Sunday, we'll talk secondary. So look out for that. And then the week after, we'll have our 75-minute training camp special, because training camp will be here by then. That'll be me, Dan, and Connor. We'll probably go about an hour and a half. That will be just on War Room. So upgrade now, because we'll be doing more stuff just on War Room now that the season's here. So look out for that. Thank everyone for listening, and we will talk to you soon.